Now, you can say what you want about the rest of my builds, but come on. You gotta say I'm pretty good at making a staircase, aren't I? What a useless skill to have in Minecraft. What an absolute waste. Anyway, welcome back everybody to the Minecraft Realm Saga. Today I've got something kind of planned that's a little bit different to what we've been doing, but it's kind of add a little bit more magic and a lot more functionality to our world. And I want to be making a brand new wizard's tower. But it isn't just a tower just for looks and maybe less of a focus on magic altogether. It's going to be more of a library kind of idea, but with the main focus on a gigantic map room here. It's going to have a great spot out, lookout view that we have over our lovely world here, I think. I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to put it just yet. But I want it to be there so we can track our progress and give a bird's eye view over our land here, both with like a watchtower viewpoint and with our map room, like I said. We're going to want to watch this world evolve even more because of what's coming next to our world here. So what is coming next, you might ask? Well, me and Peter have been taking some time and been planning out our next big project, which is a complete village revamp of the old acacia biome village that we had just down here in this area here. We're talking about like a full makeover here. Better buildings, new designs, you know, even like a couple hidden secrets here and there. But basically, we want it to A, look nice because we're both looking at it from, you know, his top-down perspective here. They're our neighbors pretty much, so we want to have a better view in our lovely dome over here. Obviously, it's going to look nice and be functionally better for like some farms, you know, a couple of other ideas. But we also want it to house our main village trading area. So it's going to be, you know, both functional and practical, like everything I'm trying to do here in this world. So before we go on to our wizard tower map room kind of idea for this video, why don't we jump back just a couple days and you can see me and Peter talking about the plan and see what we put into fruition before we got to this stage here. So I'll see you guys in just a moment.
Right, so at the top, obviously I'll come down to one below where my tree farm is.
Yeah, I see, yeah.
Off to the left of it. And then below that, you see where the roof is still there from the old house.
Yeah, yeah.
Between those two, I want to put a level between them underneath where the overhang is.
Yeah, okay. So where that house to the left of that overhang is kind of
yes,
on that
on that level perfectly.
Yeah, I got it. So you can bring all that. So you need to bring all that dirt out onto that level there.
Yeah,
yeah.
And then I think below that,
there's another sort of
the base one.
Yeah.
At the base level where the two are on the ocean, on the water.
So yeah, you want to do a dock on that level, don't we?
I want to bring the dock about 3 blocks higher.
Okay, yeah.
So I can do a design on the edge of it, like a nice stone brick dock.
Yeah, okay. And then yeah, okay, I get you.
So you see below where my house is now?
Yeah.
On that line there, I want to do a dock there and have all the buildings for it inside the mountain.
Okay.
So have a three block dock outwards.
Yeah.
And then have all like little maybe fishing huts.
Yeah,
in the mountain, like your Hobbit hole over there.
We can like
that kind of design.
We can do a little cove,
like
can't
stony.
We can cut out a little section and have some of the have a walkway going into like a cove or something.
Yeah,
that would work. Yeah.
So base level, and then I think probably get another 2 levels in.
Yeah, I can sort of see where that wheat farm is on the above the water, and then another one where the other wheat farm is there.
On the where the market stall is with the wolf.
Yeah.
That level there, and then maybe another one just below your hut there as well.
Yeah, along
and then
the edge
cutting.
Of those. Yeah, bring it around.
Cutting above where the 2 houses are already. But if we wipe that out and then we so you see where the overhang is now.
Yeah.
If we arch that, but we'll take it out first and we'll put it back in manually.
Yeah.
And arch that down to meet the water line.
Got you. Okay.
That makes sense. So as it naturally arcs down.
Yeah.
And we have huts underneath that as well, because it's going to be lower than it is now currently.
Yeah. That makes sense.
It's just a lot of terraforming. But I'd rather take the entire village out and keep some villagers to one side and then bring them back in later.
So yeah, there's a 2 by the water there, and there's a couple in that death hole where we found all them horses the other week. There's
and there's 2. Yeah.
So we'll have enough as long as they don't die. But yeah.
So I'll try and drag some to one side before I start ripping out houses more. But
yeah, because we've got. It's just we might as well just start by ripping out them houses and then terraforming as well. I might go start rip out some houses as well. If you go terraforming, you've got a better idea.
Yep, that works.
Sweet, let's get to it. Back to work. Another pro.
Yeah, it doesn't stop.
Oh my god! All right, I'm head over now. So Peter and I have some pretty big plans for this village revamp, but it's not happening just yet. First up, we're just stripping out the village completely, but the only thing we're going to keep is the old well in that center position as just like a little homage to the original layout that once stood here. Once Peter finishes up the terraforming, which is what you just saw as brainstorming there, we're just going to dive straight into kind of an elvish inspired redesign. We're still working on, the color palettes and the kind of designs of buildings you want to bring into this build. But you can picture structures that, blend into the hillside, full of those natural touches and the layout that feels alive while being obviously super functional for our villager trading. It's going to be a huge project that's going to span, quite a few episodes, I'd imagine. But it's all about bringing some life and some more flow into this area. And honestly, I cannot wait to see this come together. But aside from that, let's get back into today's video and today's build. Alright, so a little peek behind the scenes before we dive in here. Originally, this build was going to be a wizard's tower, but after some digging through a couple of reference images, I stumbled across some old diagrams and some old photos of telescopes and observatories, and my vision completely shifted after that. The idea of creating something that represents perspective and scope clicked with me, and it tied so perfectly into the theme of this video that sometimes the best way to figure out where you're going is to take a step back and look at the bigger picture. This observatory is more than just a build, it's going to be a tool to help us chart our world's progress and future plans. Perspective is so important, not just in Minecraft, but of course in life. Whether it's stepping back from a project that's frustrating you or zooming out to see how your smaller goals fit into a larger dream, perspective changes everything. So while I hollowed out this path through the mountain near our A-frame to start laying out the groundwork, I'd love to hear from you. What's one area of your world or even your life where taking a step back might actually make a difference? And we're going to use this ideology moving forward for this build. After prepping the area, I just moved on to outlining kind of a basic shape with cobblestone, just a simple foundation that I knew I could build upon and refine as I went, rather than settling in on a hard structure straight away. I knew a big telescope was going to be the start of this build, so placing the structure close to the cliff edge just felt right. That way the telescope could really stand out and protrude from this spot. Just one thing to note, if you see the build change slightly from scene to scene, that's just because I was constantly reworking and tweaking the design as ideas developed in my head as I put things together. Trial and error is such a huge part of building for me, and sometimes the best builds come from just letting yourself experiment and make mistakes. You can see something kind of unique as a part of this build, and that is the giant snowy mountain behind the build. And I wanted the structure to feel like it sort of belonged in this environment and to differentiate it, of course, to our other builds in our area. So I wanted to kind of take inspiration from the color of the landscape and, of course, the snow. So I went with a diorite color palette and helped mix that about with some other white blocks, including the birch wood logs. If you ever maybe find yourself in a bit of like a building rut, maybe try and working with a couple different block palettes or even a new kind of build altogether. It can really help open up the possibilities and help break through that wall you might be facing. For me personally, and I think everyone obviously does the same, but I always start with the foundations and kind of build the core ideas from there. So once I had those core ideas in my head, I was then focused on completing the first or 2-3 levels of the structure, working on each side individually to make sure I don't replicate the build and kind of switch it up as we went. This method kind of lets me refine the details as I go and make sure each part of the build feels cohesive. Taking it step by step is just so perfect for me, and it's a great way to avoid feeling overwhelmed by these larger projects, tackling either one side at a time or one idea at a time. This observatory is probably the most modern idea or build we've done in this world, in concept, because it's quite a scientific kind of thing, the observatory. Well, apart from our nether portal crane, which is kind of in the same kind of realm, and I actually think it ties really nicely with this build. But to make sure I kept it grounded in that medieval, fantasy, kind of steampunk aesthetic we have here, I focused on using log beams and kind of a slightly rickety design. It's a fun challenge to kind of balance those elements of functional, technical, while making it still feel like an observatory, but still with that rustic charm like the rest of our area. And I think this approach really helped it stay all cohesive as a one single unit. One of the most important elements in this build is the height. Creating an ascending structure not only adds like a visual interest and a kind of uniqueness for us here because it's the tallest building we've done, but it also is going to balance out the design, especially with the telescope lens sticking out of it so prominently, which you're going to see shortly. Without that vertical element, I just knew the whole thing would just feel so lopsided and maybe stumpy as well. Using height strategically can bring a sense of harmony to any build, and it's such a valuable skill to have. Whether it's a tower like this or even a sprawling village layout, it's such a key element to every build that you really do need to consider. Okay, now it is really time for the fun part, which is our telescope. So those old reference images that I flashed up at the start of the telescopes and observatories really did inspire me with those intricate and mechanical designs they used to use. I really do love how visible all the gears and components were, and I wanted to bring that into this build while of course staying true to our fantasy steampunk theme. You'll see me working on adding wheels and the kind of cogs and those other mechanical touches to give it that functional and industrial feel. And my favorite detail is the lens itself. I made it from amethyst and purple glass, and it adds that subtle arcane vine, but really that pop of color that really makes this part of the build stand out from anywhere in our area. I absolutely love how this bit really came across. So I wrapped up the core of the build and it was time for my favourite part, and that is of course adding those little finishing touches around the exterior. To make the observatory blend into our world better and feel more lived in and aged, I added moss and vines and foliage and plants. This technique has been a staple in every single one of our builds so far, and it's amazing how much it transforms the structure. Suddenly it doesn't feel new or shiny or anything like that. It feels like it's been here for years and it's weathered by time and nature. And I think that's kind of the core idea that we've been going for this whole time without me really realizing it fully. With the exterior complete, I was really happy with how this observatory turned out. You know, it's functional, it fits the theme of our area, and it represents the bigger picture thinking that this build is all about. In the second half of our episode here, we're going to be doing a deep dive into the interior design and functionality of this build. But for now, let's just soak in the views and see how much this build has added to the world. I just want to say thank you if you've made it this far into the video. I know it's been quite a detailed and intricate one, so if you made it along this far, thank you so much and let me know what you thought of the build so far. But we're just going to move on and do a deep dive just now of the interior of the build. I wanted to switch it up for you, and rather than doing, you know, our fly around and our close-ups, I wanted to come into the world so you can see it firsthand in a first-person perspective, and I can give you a live commentary of my thoughts, feelings, why I've done something, why I've not done something, and the main purpose and core of the build I'll get to as well. So the first thing I wanted to get just right and bang on is the entrance. I wanted the entrance to set a tone for the build. As you can see coming up and around here, we're very warm and we're very vibrant. But coming and looking over the hill, we've got that change in tone from that going from that warm grass to that cold snow and ice. And I wanted to reflect that in the entranceway. So I made it darker in tone. You can see I've got the cobbled deep slate here to give it sort of a darker feel almost immediately. So you come around this corner and it's bright and it's lively. But you notice this straight away and you think something's different about this just right now. So continuing that theme coming in, I wanted to keep it dark so there's no lights in here, but that sort of light at the end of the tunnel feel you get instead, wanting to draw you through and out through the cave. So that idea, it naturally guides you through this space and it really connects the two areas while maintaining that separation that I was really looking for. So it's coming up, we've got that area here, which is kind of the reverse. So we wanted to transition from that area to this area, and then we still want that transition available to us if we were to come this way, back to that warmth and that vibrancy, which is, you know, at the core of what the rest of this area kind of is. But let's just go back to the entrance just here. So keeping with the grandness and that almost scale of the building, I wanted to reflect that on the interior as well. Sometimes to understand where you want to go, you have to kind of take a step back and look at the bigger picture. And that is exactly what this observatory and the interior, which is this map and tracking area. So you can see here we have our map of our area, our realm. Everything that you've seen so far has pretty much been within this small, so it's not small, it's humongous. This humongous circular, I don't know what it's actually called. It's not a cove, it's like a crater, I suppose. It is a crater more than anything. And I wanted this map to highlight not only our area, but I want it to be the highlight and the core of this build. So I've made it stand out the most, you know, coming around here. So before we get to this map, you can sort of get the idea of the cartography side of this building. It's the studying, it's the lens on top, and you need a station for that. So I've come in and done a nice little station here. And oh, Peter's online. So yeah, like I was saying, so this cartography table here, you can see I've got the system set up. I've got all the supplies I kind of need for moving forward and making more maps if we do. But you see this map here. This map here is frozen. I've used a glass pane to freeze it. So this is what we've done in the first, 12 or so episodes. And I wanted to almost freeze that as a memory in time. As we come to our table, it's going to reflect how, this sort of area was and what it was all about and where we started from. It's that sort of ideology I want to carry forward to here. So like I was saying, in order to look forward, you want to be able to step back and look at the bigger picture. And this map is our way of literally stepping back and seeing that bigger picture. It's going to help us not only track what we've done, but dream about what we do next. I've loved doing this build because I've had so many ideas spark just from seeing our area and our crater from this perspective. I can already see I want to use this upper area far more than I ever had intended to, and I can also see the amount of space we have moving forward. So we're going to be using about half of this crater. It's kind of, me and Pete have like a spoken thing, but we're doing about half because our village is going to be here that we're going to be doing a revamp, but I can just see how much possibility there is in our area that I've not been utilizing. We've got this huge gap down here that leads to the water. There's a concept there I'm already planning on, docks, boats, maybe. And then coming around here, we've got all this green space, which is just, let me get the spyglass out. It's this area here, and even like this area down here. I want to utilize all of this going forward. But not only is it a function, of those planning and our planning for a future, but it's about that interactivity. I wanted this room to feel alive and useful and like a space you'd come back to every time you start a new project. So that meant giving it more of a utilitarian feel and more of like a homely vibe. So, I added a couple of paintings in, and I've added this section here. So I've got the lumen here. I had planned on adding some banners and stuff, but I think that's an idea and a concept we want to tackle at a later date, the whole like banners and the banner system and utilizing those in builds, because I've not done that before, but I really think it would be a good thing for me to learn and to use to really elevate our level of building. So like I just mentioned briefly, this space is somewhere we're going to be coming back to when we start a new project. And that means we need a place to track those projects. And this is what we have here. This is our notice board. It is our plans, projects, plans, and possibilities board. Quite a mouthful, but I actually love how this has come together. So just come in on the details a bit here. So of course I've used that. I started it on the A-frame just out there, and I thought I could translate it better, and I found out I could. So I've just copied and pasted these black squares from Google, and it gives it that nail on the board feel that we tried to accomplish over there. So already developing that skill a bit more. So this board is going to be where our big dreams become a reality in essence. It's an evolving list of, ideas and tasks to really keep us inspired and on track. And just from seeing, like I said, this area here, all these ideas came flooding out my head of what I want to create. So going forward, I really want to create a total system of everything you would need in Minecraft, but I really want to focus on the aesthetic and making it live and breathe in our world here. So we can have automatic farms and there can be pistons, but I want there to be reason behind that building. I want there to be design behind that building. So that means taking time to section off areas, join areas together that make sense to be together. And I really want to pull from our map here, as well as our notice board. I'm really able to visualize and envision what we're going to be doing better because of this build. And it's something you guys can definitely utilize in your builds in any essence of the form, whatever that may be. It doesn't have to be a building like this, but just an area where you can come and think in your world, because it helps you almost connect to the ideas and the themes that you want to achieve, being able to see and breathe and feel what you've already created in the past. But beyond that, because of the way I like to build, I did want to link it to something bigger than what it is on the surface. So at its surface, it is a planning and a meeting area and an ideas area, but it has to have that life and that reasoning, which is why I focus so much on the interior decorations, and that continues up the ladder and up the stairs here. So let's just explore our first level. So in my mind, this is the place for a scientist or a cartographer, someone of that nature who would come, live, study. And in my head, they would be quite secluded, maybe they wouldn't leave. So I definitely wanted to give that person in a story of what this building is about or used to be about. It's that story and it's that life that I want to bring, and that reasoning, which I always probably sick of me saying it, but I bang on about it. So linking that back to the interior, I really wanted that interior to feel grounded, almost realistic, but also timeless as like the exterior. I wanted it to lean into that like warmth and that almost contrasting warm and cold, with the wood being the warm but the stone being the cold. Kind of gives that unsettling kind of feeling to it, which is what these observatories kind of always are. They're a bit mystical and they're always a bit weird because it's that study of the unknown, and I think that really does translate into the build you're trying to complete and the objective you're obviously trying to achieve, and that is whatever star mapping or mapping in general. And on that theme, we come up to our final level here. Now, on the surface, this is a great viewpoint. We can see our area just like we can with our map. So it's that linkage between the two, the downstairs and the upstairs, which gives context to our gigantic, well, it's more like a spyglass. It's like this really, more than a telescope. And I absolutely love like its rickety design. But this area is in such a good location for viewing everything that we're going to be doing moving forward. And that's at the core of what this build is going to be delivering for us. But moving back on side, I wanted to give that kind of magical vibe going forward. And if you can see and if you remember, our spyglass, our big spyglass, our telescope has that purple quartz and glass at the front. I wanted to bring the arcana on it and the spectacle and the magicalness of it all up. And I wanted to translate that into this upstairs area where it's more of like a workshop or more of a working space rather than like a living or a utilitarian space, which is why, you'd have another cartography table, a couple more storages, some books. And then just here is what I like. I like this. This, in theory, is what links us and what we could see out of, like the periscope or a telescope. This is our lens for tracking. And this is where that person would write their findings or their studies or take sketches of what they see. So that's how it all translates and fits together. And this bell's more of a like... Imagine you were looking out of here and you could see a big meteorite coming. This would be the... the warning we're all gonna die kind of bell. But it's those like little details I wanted to fit in and make sure I hit, because those little details like the notebook or the paintings and the books and the bell and the lens, they're all concepts and ideas that I can use to make the place feel alive and purposeful at the same time. And that's why I love this build so much. I love the idea of this place being more than just a showpiece. It's a working space. It's a utilitarian space, in concept and in practicality. And it's a hub of creativity and planning for like all our future builds, not just for me as a solo player, but for the world and for the realm and for everyone involved. I can already imagine us all around this table here discussing what we want to do or what we want to achieve. And it provides that space where we can collectively combine our ideas and achieve our goals that we want to achieve. It's difficult to say what my favorite part of this build is. I love the lens. I think that was such a great addition. I love the map. These maps are absolutely beautiful. I really like what they do and what they bring, the life they bring to it. But I really do think my favorite spot is our observation deck. That it just has to be on my favorite spot. I think it breathes life, it has purpose, it has concept, it has lore to it. It really embodies the theme of the perspective, and it lets us take in all the work we have done and all the work that is to come. It's just the embodiment of everything I wanted this build to achieve. I'm so happy with how it's all turned out. I think it's absolutely amazing. Although I think the lens for you guys might take some getting used to. I've had some time with it now, so I'm used to seeing it about and everything. But yeah, the interior of this observatory, it's not just about like what's inside, it's about what it represents at its core, like I was saying, and that is what this message is for this video. It's that like every detail is a reminder to step back and reflect in order to keep moving forward and to develop. So I want to hear from you guys. What about you? Like, what have you done in your worlds that you can reflect or dream of and use as a space to learn from? So let me know in the comments what you think, and I'd love to hear any more ideas you have, because this notice board is full. It's full to the brim now, but I've got this space down here for the user ideas. Just a couple ideas that you guys might have after seeing this map like I had for myself. Leave them all down in the comments, and I'd love to hear your ideas. So thank you so much for watching another episode of the Realms Saga. It's been a really good one for me. I've loved this build. I think you're going to be seeing a lot more of it going forward. You guys have been so supportive these last couple episodes. The last 4 videos I put on YouTube have hit around 1,000 views each, which is insane. So thank you so much to all of you that are checking it out and watching along to the end and commenting, subscribing, liking. It's all just amazing. So yeah, thank you, and I will see you guys in the next episode of the Realms Saga.